Hello and thanks for joining us on a special edition of Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman.
And I'm Paris Schutz. Tonight is the latest in our series, WTTW News, A Safer City. Every Monday in July and August, we're devoting our entire program to issues of public and community safety.
We're also prioritizing public safety in our online coverage, including at WTTW.com/safercity. Here's what we're looking at tonight.
What if we wasn't here? A lot of things could take place.
Chicago Public School students return to class. Hear from the workers getting them there safely.
Billions of dollars are lost each year to retail theft. We look at the impact on Chicago area stores.
It was gone, completely gone, and I knew exactly where I parked it.
Why motor vehicle theft has risen an astronomical 139% in just 3 years, and how you can protect your car.
And another crime leaving drivers on edge. Hear about local efforts to curb carjackings. All that right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by Alexandra and John Nichols, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors. Chicago Tonight's coverage of public safety is supported by the Su Ling Jin Charitable Foundation Initiative for reducing violence in Chicago.
Thousands of Chicago Public School students were back in class today after their summer vacation. Chicago Tonight's Joanna Hernandez visited with some of the people tasked with getting them there safely. Joanna joins us now from outside Brenneman Elementary School in Buena Park. Joanna.
And Brandis, they are called safe passage workers, and you can't miss them because they're wearing these bright neon vests. Now, they are trained to stand outside school campuses and make sure that students are walking into the school building safely.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? They going and they getting clapped in the back.
For the last 9 years, Shakita Birch has been a safe passage worker at Woodson North Middle School in Bronzeville.
When you can play a part in someone's life to making it safe for them, that speaks volume.
Birch is one of hundreds of safe passage workers serving as the eyes and ears for Chicago Public Schools across the city.
We're like the second set of parents that's here until they get out of school, before and after care. So we make sure that they're safe, you know, that they're not going to any cars, they're not wandering off the school grounds. What's going on?
At Woodson North Middle School, 8 safe passage employees line up around the school with bright smiles and open arms. A welcoming touch that parent Chloe Dillard appreciates.
Being able to trust that they are looking after him is the best thing ever. There's been a couple times where I have to drop him off and they're like, we got him. And they make sure he gets in okay.
The program started in 2009, now serving 188 public schools. City officials say safe passage workers are the first line of protection in some of the most challenging communities.
We haven't experienced a shooting, but you know, you can hear them and it may be a couple of blocks away. So we have a code of 911 that means, you know, hey, it's a shooting somewhere, be aware. Hey, how are you?
The mother of 7 says building community is what drives her passion for keeping students safe.
It makes a difference, and we hear it all the time, you know. And then, you know, you be out here and then you see it and you just be like, man, I'm glad that I was here. What if we wasn't here? A lot of things could take place.
Morning, good morning. And Brenneman Elementary School is another school linked to the program. Now, we know there are nearly 1,200 safe passage employees working in schools across the city. Reporting live in Buena Park, I'm Joanna Hernandez. I send it back to you.
Joanna, thank you. And on a programming note, tomorrow we will have Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez on the program to talk about the new school year. Retail theft is on the rise. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce estimates that theft costs American retailers nearly $100 billion last year. In Illinois, the chamber estimates more than $2 billion worth of goods was stolen in 2021. But it says the cost to Illinois businesses was more than double that, at more than $4 billion when other factors were taken into account. Joining us now to give us their take on this issue and what's being done to address it are Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, Rob Carr, CEO of the Illinois Retail Merchants Association, And joining us from Atlanta, Scott Glenn, Vice President of Asset Protection for Home Depot. Gentlemen, thanks to you all for joining us. Rob Carr, let's start with you, please. Give us a sense of the scale of the problem. Is this something that's affecting both, small and large businesses?
Well, thanks for having me. Yes, and the answer is it's affecting small and large businesses. We've seen everyone impacted, from the likes of a Home Depot, who's with us tonight, to a consignment shop at Lincoln Park, to a shoe store in Englewood. So it affects everyone who's selling all types of merchandise.
Is it your sense that things are they especially bad in Chicago? Is this something nationwide?
It is something nationwide. I think there's some certain commonalities around some urban areas for others, but Chicago is clearly one of the epicenters of the problem.
Attorney General, is this, the large scale, very organized theft that we're seeing? Who's doing this?
Well, it varies. You have some ordinary retail theft, but you also have some well-organized crime rings involved, and some of the actors that may be outside of our jurisdiction. The proceeds of organized retail crime often fund other criminal activity, be it gun trafficking, human trafficking, and in some cases even in terrorism.
And right now we're looking at a list of the retail theft locations in Chicago that are the top ones: Macy's on State Street, several Walmarts. Scott Glenn, how big of a problem would you say retail theft is for a company like Home Depot? I mean, for a big company like that, is this an inconvenience or something that you have to factor into the cost of doing business?
Well, certainly a part of it is factored into the cost of doing business, and there's the financial impact that hits every company that this kind of activity occurs in, but there's also a safety concern. We have the criminals becoming much more brazen and much more aggressive in their tactics to get the product out of the stores. And so not only do we worry about the financial impact, but we worry about the safety impact to our customers and associates as well.
I want to come back to some of that, the safety impact that you mentioned in a bit. Attorney General, what are the groups, the alleged thieves, what are they doing with these goods once they've stolen them? Is it fairly easy for them to turn around and sell them?
Well, frequently the people you see carrying out the acts aren't the heads of the criminal enterprise, and so we call them mules. For instance, in the Metro East, we've cracked down on 2 schemes that use drug addicts, and they paid them with either cash or, in some instances, drugs to steal the items, and they were resold on Facebook. We caught one group that was reselling on Facebook Marketplace, involved in another group that was reselling them in pawn shops, and one of the groups had a former police chief as part of the criminal ring.
Wow. And you mentioned sometimes outside your jurisdiction, are these being sold, out of the region, for example? Are they being shipped overseas, for example, if stolen in large amounts?
Well, the easiest platform for them to sell it is on online marketplaces, be it Amazon, Facebook
eBay.
Marketplace, eBay. And so when we organize a task force, we called in the various platforms, and we've been trying to, the best possible, collaborate with some of those platforms, some more successful than others, to get them focused on cracking down on this criminal activity that focuses on brick and mortar retail establishments, be they big boxes like Home Depot or your Walgreens or your small ma and pa retail establishments. They hit all of these brick and mortar retail establishments and resell it online.
Scott Glenn, you mentioned staff safety and the concern that is for you all. How do you advise your staff to handle incidents of theft?
We do a couple things. First and foremost, we teach all of our employees, how to de-escalate any tense situation in the store, whether it's a criminal activity or some other type of conflict in the store. But more importantly, what we do is we just ask our associates to be good observers, to report what they see, to collect as much detail as they can, and then bring that information back to us and our organized retail crime team so that we can kind of coordinate that activity and connect and link these cases together on the backside of it. We absolutely don't want our associates in any way to get involved in a criminal act in the stores.
And Scott, how has Home Depot gone about tackling this issue? I've heard that you've used some high-tech approaches. I'm sure you're limited in what you want to give away here, but how are you handling it?
Sure. No, thanks for the question. I mean, I would say we've done everything from the lowest tech you can do to some of the highest tech available, and there's a spectrum of everything in between, and everything's on the table right now. I think, we've put things behind barriers. We've actually locked product up in many parts of our store, which was really kind of unthinkable probably 5 years ago, I would say. But then again, there's a lot of new technologies that are coming out there, AI and machine learning and really great enhanced camera systems and pattern recognition tools, and all those different types of resources are available to us. And we are testing and learning and trying to figure out which ones work the best for us.
Attorney General, you all in 2021, as you mentioned, you created a task force to tackle organized retail theft. Is that having an impact?
I think it is. We've collaborated with Illinois Retail Merchants Associations and with Home Depot. In one instance, we worked with loss prevention specialists at Home Depot to track a man who was price switching. We've also went to the legislature and we got a grant to be able to fund law enforcement departments efforts focusing on organized retail crime. Really successful in Oak Brook, where they've recovered over $1.2 million in stolen merchandise, and they've gotten occupancy near 100% at Oak Brook Mall. We've also funded the Cook County Sheriff's Office that's been helping out downtown on the Mag Mile and River North, and they've had nearly 100 arrests over the past 3 months.
According to Chicago Police Department arrest data, as you'd expect, arrests plummeted with the onset of the pandemic as many stores were forced to close. But arrest levels haven't quite returned to those pre-pandemic levels. You sort of see like the drop off here in this graph. Rob Carr, is this a sign that law enforcement isn't taking the issue seriously enough, or do you think that there's more that law enforcement could be doing to tackle this?
I think a couple things. First, we're fortunate to have a great partner with Attorney General Kwame Raoul, who's been a national leader, not just a leader in our state on this. Second, we collaborated in passing a law that pieces of still are coming together. Washington, D.C. copied the Inform Act that we passed here. They're still putting that in place, so there are pieces still to come together. I do think there's a tension, particularly in Chicago. You look at, you can't necessarily blame rank and file law enforcement who don't want to do a couple hours of paperwork if cases aren't going to be prosecuted. So I think there's a tension there that has to be overcome, and I think with more collaboration that might work as well, in addition to the law that we passed that gave the Attorney General some additional powers, as well as other states' attorneys some additional powers. And again, that all comes online. I think that will help.
And we did mention, we should mention that we did invite both the Chicago Police Department and Cook County State's Attorney's Office to join us. They were not able to. Rob, Cook County State's Attorney's Office has been criticized for raising the bar for felony conviction to $1,000 from $500 for shoplifting. What are your thoughts on that, and what's been the impact?
Everywhere this has been done nationally, and this is an indisputable fact, everywhere the threshold has been increased, the value of the goods has been increased as well. Criminals are intelligent. We don't like to think they are, but they do. They're smart enough to figure out ways and workarounds, and they know exactly where that threshold is and how to game that threshold. And we've seen statistics, reputable statistics as well, where they're often not caught until the 10th or 11th, 12th time that they've actually stolen something. So they're getting away with an awful lot before they're even caught. So increasing that threshold has a demonstrable impact in terms of encouraging additional theft.
Okay. Attorney General, about 20 seconds left. Is there anything more that you think law enforcement could be doing?
Well, I think what I would want to say is in the act that we passed to distinguish it from ordinary retail theft, we go after the concerted criminal activity where you see 20 people going into the store at the same time. So while you may have only stolen one thing under the threshold, you can be charged with a felony because you're acting in concert. And so I think that's an important tool in the tool bag to crack down on this.
That distinction. Okay, we'll have to leave it there. My thanks to Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, Rob Carr, and Scott Glenn for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, what's driving the stark rise in car thefts? Stay with us.
Be careful where you park your car. It might not be there when you come back. That's because Chicago, like much of the nation, has seen an astronomical rise in car thefts since 2020, with no let-up in sight. And Chicago police have linked several recent robbery sprees to stolen vehicles. This comes as car makers Kia and Hyundai face scrutiny for failing to provide adequate security systems for their cars. We set out to find what's accelerating this citywide crisis.
So first of all, you can see that the window is pretty much broken out with the glass right there. There's probably some inside the vehicle on the floor or the seat.
Chicagoan Matt Nallette runs the Chicago Stolen Car Directory, a volunteer effort to locate stolen vehicles and alert owners on the group's Facebook page. He found this stolen Hyundai in an alley near the intersection of North Avenue and Cicero. It appears that all it took was a screwdriver and a USB cord to start the car.
See the middle of the cylinder, that little notch? The little metal thing right there goes inside the USB adapter and it turns right over. I'll show this alley real quick down the street here.
Nallette says he spends several hours a week scouring alleyways, empty lots, and side streets on the west and northwest sides for stolen vehicles, and says there are certain tells.
Broken back windows, how long they've been there for. Like sometimes you'll see a car parked somewhere for over, I don't know, a month.
When he finds a vehicle that looks suspicious, he'll run the plates in the Chicago Police Department's stolen car database.
No city stickers, so stolen plates, see?
And he's fairly busy these days. CPD crime statistics show a rise in car thefts from just under 9,000 in 2019 to more than 21,000 last year. That's a 139% spike in just 3 years. And this year's numbers are on track to be even higher.
It looks most likely that those are going to be Kia and Hyundai related. Not all models, but select years and makes are vulnerable to thefts.
Ernesto Lopez is a research specialist for the Council on Criminal Justice, a national organization that studies crime trends. He says Chicago's spike mirrors a nationwide trend, which might have been sparked by a viral TikTok video.
That TikTok challenge I had to steal the Kias and Hyundais. That was the biggest thing right there. And these kids are like, we ain't got nothing to do anyway. We're out of school for COVID and all this stuff. Might as well.
But other makes and models are vulnerable too, and crime statistics show that no corner of the city is safe. Last December, Bina David, a professional singer, left her car in the Grant Park South parking garage before a music rehearsal at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. When she came back, the car was gone.
It was gone, completely gone, and I knew exactly where I parked it.
And what was the first thing that went through your mind when you saw that?
Disbelief. I literally had my mouth agape like...
It was kind of a mess.
David documented her travails on TikTok. A month later, after claiming full reimbursement from her insurance, David got word her car was at an auto impound lot in Hammond, Indiana. She went to see what shape the car was in.
There's guns in here! Holy sh**!
It looked like a rifle, but I was told that it was a pellet gun, and I think that's what surprised me the most. And the saddest thing was children's DVDs and juice boxes that I had found in there.
These cars are used in the commission of another crime, joyriding, or even being sold.
And according to CPD statistics, most suspects get away with the initial crime. Last year, the clearance rate for solving motor vehicle thefts was a paltry 4%. Sources close to CPD say the department de-emphasizes solving these crimes to devote more resources to more serious crimes. Matt Nallette says motorists can do a few things to protect their cars. Buy an alarm, a conversion from key to push-button starter, or just get an old-fashioned club.
The club. It's the kind of protection us pussycats need.
Bina David has since replaced her vehicle and parked in the same garage and says her luck hasn't improved.
When I came back, the glove box was open and it had been ransacked through, but nothing was missing except for my homemade lunch.
Tell me what that was.
Chicken curry and a handful of cherries.
Nallette says he'll stay on the prowl until law enforcement puts more emphasis on solving these crimes.
I still got to pay bills, so basically, it's not my form of income. So I wish it was.
Why do you do it then?
I don't like seeing stolen cars. People need them.
And a nonprofit called the National Insurance Crime Bureau offers this advice for those that have had their cars stolen. One, report the theft to law enforcement on the day you discover the car is gone. Use that police report to submit a claim to your insurer to get reimbursement, and be prepared to have the make, model, license plate number, and VIN number handy. The Chicago Police Department declined our request to participate in this story. Car theft is frustrating enough, but there's another vehicular crime that induces far more fear among drivers, and that, of course, is carjacking. Right now, Chicago is seeing triple the number of carjackings from a decade ago and has more incidents reported than any city in the country. And here to discuss this is Captain David Keltner of the Illinois State Police. Captain Keltner, thanks for joining us. Let's start with the latest data. What is it telling you about the rate of carjackings in Chicago and throughout the state?
We have seen an increase in the number of carjackings and also vehicle thefts that have taken place, and along with catalytic converter thefts that have taken place. But we've also seen a large increase in arrests associated with those incidents, and some hard work from the Illinois State Police and other police partners coming together to make some of those arrests.
And with car thefts, we saw that from just right before COVID, this rise began to where we're at now. Is that what we're seeing with carjackings?
We saw an increase in 2021 was the big noticeable increase that we saw, but it has been at an uptick for the last 18 months.
All right, you're saying there's an uptick in arrests as well. So what are some of the tools and tactics being used now by law enforcement to stop this?
Not only just our training of our state troopers and our partners, but our intelligence information and sharing that's increased and been a big push in the last year. There's been an extreme focus on the utilization of technology to pinpoint and respond to crimes that take place. The expansion and utilization of our canine partners and our handlers has been big for our department. The use of and training of the precision immobilization technique, or sometimes called the PIT technique. Use of stop sticks in some of those pursuits. Our air support's been huge. There's an expansion going on with that currently, and utilization of LPRs and that data that goes along with it to be able to find those hotspots, find those vehicles, and respond to those vehicles and make safe arrests. And I know there's some pieces of legislation that the General Assembly has passed recently, including allocating $21 million to the state police well, half of this will go to the state police. So give us an overview of how some of this additional resources will be spent. Yeah, as I just mentioned, some of those things have been working well for us. Again, we are getting a large portion of that grant, a little under half associated with it. And those will be utilized to expand those programs that we've seen work over the last 2 years and begin to hit and make those special arrests that we're trying to make with the vehicular hijackings and the stolen vehicles. So again, expansion of all those programs. Air support is huge for us to try to safely encounter those vehicles and make arrests, along with all those tools that I mentioned as far as canines, additional stop sticks, additional training that goes along with it, and the expansion of our LPR program, not just in the middle of downtown in those interstates near the Jane Burnett interchange, but to expand it further to the Collier counties to have it on the same system.
And we've seen with the car thefts, Kia and Hyundai having all kinds of problems, not only here, but all across the country. Is this kind of true for carjackings too, because of the ease with which criminals can kind of just take a screwdriver and a USB cord and start the car?
We do see a lot of our straight steals, and when I say straight steal, I mean a basic theft of the vehicle without encountering an owner or having that key fob or key to start that vehicle. We do see that, or we have seen that a lot with our Kias and our Hyundais, as we've seen thousands taken in just Chicago over the last couple of years. But we see a lot of carjackings that involve all types of vehicles, some high-end vehicles or just some basic vehicles that subjects have the opportunities at stores or gas stations or whatever it might be, with the encountering of the drivers to have the opportunity to take that vehicle at the time.
All right, and before we go here, just some tips for motorists here to stay safe.
Just want to remind citizens to always lock their doors, limit any of that access of their garages when they're at home, so that nobody can make their way into their vehicles. Again, we talked about the key fobs being able to be reprogrammed and everything else, so the access of those need to be taken care of. Don't leave them in your vehicles. Put your phones and devices away. and always be alert of any suspicious persons or activity when you might be getting gas, or that you're getting out of your car at a store, or parking in a parking place or a parking garage, and scan the area beforehand. Don't be afraid that if you have that inkling or the hair on the back of your neck standing up, that you don't have to park there and you can safely get away from that situation, then go ahead and do that. And also, at the nearest time that you can, make sure that you are notifying the police so that we're getting the information that your vehicle was taken, that we can respond quickly to the area.
All right, good rules to keep in mind. Captain David Keltner of the Illinois State Police, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
And we're back to wrap things up right after this.
And that's our show for this Monday night. Join us again next Monday for the last program in this series, and be sure to follow our ongoing coverage online. Don't forget to stay connected with us by signing up for our daily briefing, and you can get Chicago Tonight streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, WTTW.com/news.
And you can also get the show via podcast and the PBS video app, and join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10.
Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman.
And I'm Paris Schutz. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a great evening.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm pleased to give back to the community through numerous charitable initiatives.